Tonight. Tomorrow, partly sunny. A 10% chance of showers and thunderstorms, 104. Sunday, mostly sunny. 10% chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms, high 104. Staff meteorologist John Weatherby, Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Right now it's 103 degrees and the Dow down 59 points at 17,687. S&P is down 4 at 2105. The NASDAQ up 3 at 5132. Reporting for Money Radio, I'm Ken Morgan.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. This is Bob Roth, and you are listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. We're a weekly show that's found right here on Money Radio, 1510 AM, 99.3 FM, and we're found on the World Wide Web at moneyradio1510.com. Our show is a show about health futures, and it's adequately named because we talk about health and in its future. And certainly here on Money Radio, they talk a lot about futures. And our tagline is taking stock in you. We've been on the air now for about 19 months. And I'm coming off a vacation. I was away for a couple weeks. And that's why I said in the opening, welcome back. Because it's good to be back. And last week, I got a chance to replay one of my favorite episodes. And if you missed it, you can find it on our website at cypresshomecare.com. And I had 3 incredible radio personalities on the show last week. I had the owner and president of this station, Money Radio. I had Ron Cohen. And I had Bill Strauss, who used to have a great show on KTAR called Strauss's Place. And then I had the mayor. And I had Dave Pratt, the mayor, on the show. And all 3 of them, between the 3 of them, they have probably over 100 years of radio experience, and they lent that experience to me, and they gave me lots of kudos. It's hard to believe that I've been on the show for 19 months, but we're bringing great guests to you, and guests that can really help our listenership learn about tools and learn about ways and give you resources to help with aging and help with our healthcare needs in our community. And we've had a lot of different guests on the show. They range from research scientists to business finance people to elder law attorneys. And today's is no different. Today's guests are no different. And today's guests, I have 2 individuals here in my studio. And I've got Eugene Slutskiy. And I've got Luis Gonzales, and both of them are from St. Luke's Behavioral Health Center. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Well, it's good to have you guys. And Luis Gonzales has a name that I think many Arizonans kind of relate to. It is not the former Diamondback. And there's also a physician here in town, Luis Gonzales.
There's many of us.
Yes. There's many, but you are an original, and you were on our show back in December.
Correct. Thanks for having me back.
Well, I'm glad to have you back because we're going to talk about stuff that is really important for our listening audience to know about, and we have an ongoing challenge with behavioral health.
Without a doubt. It's an amazing phenomenon that we found ourselves in here.
Well, you found yourselves in here, and you are one of the leaders here in our community, and you have many different resources. You got many different outlets for our people in our community to go to. You know, it's interesting, and we talked about this last time, Luis, is there used to be such a negative stigma that was attached to someone that had behavioral health challenges. And, you know, we used to understand it to be more institutionalized, and we used to, it was kind of whispered. Mm-hmm. Oh, you don't want to talk to this person. And, they covered your mouth, and they said that, they've got such and such. But you know what? It is part of our fabric of our community. And there are ways for these people that have behavioral health challenges to get help and to be able to mainstream and function in our community day to day.
Don't disagree with that. And I think there's still a stigma. Certainly, Eugene can speak to how members of the community and family members on the clinical side deal with that piece. But as the voice of the community, and when I am out as the conduit, if you will, with St. Luke's and those that I speak to, there's somewhat of a, as you illustrate, and hopefully we can do that, your hands over your mouth when you're speaking, and it's still out there, and we're doing our best to combat that.
And there are lots of behavioral health challenges that many people in our community are dealing with. And our show, being Health Futures, Taking Stock in You, it's a show about our aging adult population and really how they can find resources to really cope with and deal with some of the challenges relating to aging. And some of the challenges that we deal with are the stuff that we talk about a lot here on the show, and one of them being Alzheimer's, the other one being dementia. We talk about depression. There are lots of challenges that we're dealing with in our aging adult population.
Agreed.
And go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, as Luis had mentioned, there is quite a bit of stigma still out there, and a lot of the older folks that we're dealing with, they grew up in a time where mental health services were not really an acceptable alternative to go to counseling or psychiatric care. But there's a bit more acceptance about that now, and we definitely have a high enough prevalence rate in the population of both depression and anxiety, even in the older population, that it needs to be treated despite the stigma. So.
Well, and we talk about St. Luke's, but let's just pause for a second. And Luis, you and I have had this conversation. I want to just be able to enlighten our listening audience, because St. Luke's is part of IASIS.
Correct.
And IASIS has really gotten into the limelight here in Phoenix, especially recently, because I think it was back in November or December, the big announcement was made that IASIS and the Phoenix Suns had a sponsorship partnership.
Correct. We are the official healthcare provider for the Phoenix Suns. So IASIS, we have 17 acute care hospitals across the United States. So here in the Valley, we are Mountain Vista Medical Center, St. Luke's Medical Center, Tempe St. Luke's Behavioral Health. We have Physician Group of Arizona, which is our employed physicians, and Health Choice Health Plan. So it's quite a robust organization. We're not a one single brick and mortar site, if you will. The Suns chose to work with us for a number of reasons. Part of that is the behavioral component. No other provider can offer that to the scale that we can. We have an excellent orthopedics program, for example, that they were very interested in partnering with. So we are now, there's a small clinic or building that is next to the arena, and we are under construction now to provide a community-based healthcare center, and part of that will be psychiatric care for the community.
Wow. And what's interesting, St. Luke's Medical Center, and I saw this when I toured the facility a little more than a year ago, is it's got a lot of history. How long? I remember seeing the pictures. I mean, they've been around for over 100 years?
100 years is roughly the time that started, and it was originally the tuberculosis treatment center for the Phoenix territory, or the Arizona territory. So there are photographs in the lobby of
impressive,
literally the wagon and wheel days of patients sitting outside attempting to dry out their lungs, if you will. And it has grown, that campus has grown to there, so it to what it is now.
But the campus is in the same spot, isn't it?
It is. Our campus is essentially exploded, if you will, and it was just a couple small huts. And the aerial photographs are incredible.
They are. 1800 East Van Buren Street.
Yes.
And it's been there for a long time.
Yes.
And you guys will be here for a long time going forward.
Many, many exciting things before us.
Well, we talked about the Generations program when we were on last.
Right.
And I want to talk a little bit more about it when we come back from this hard break we're about to take. And I want to talk a little bit about this program that, Eugene, you and I talked about, Momentum program.
Yes.
Definitely. So, we're coming up against a break here, and I can't emphasize enough how important this subject matter is to our community, our listening audience, And really it's about finding resources and giving our people in our community tools to be able to help families cope with this challenge that they're dealing with, whatever the challenge is.
Agreed. Absolutely.
I think we're listening to a little bit of Clapton, so we're going to go in for a break. You're listening to Health Futures Taking Stock in You. I've got in the studio today, I've got Luis Gonzales and I've got Eugene Slutskiy from St. Luke's Behavioral Health. We'll be right back.
Volatility is coming back into the market. After a few generally peaceful up years in the market, 2015 has already had a number of sharp up and down moves, and these are likely to continue. If you're prepared for it, volatility is opportunity. If you're not, it can quickly wipe out years of gains in your portfolio. Learn how to get on the professional side of the trade, the right side of the trade, regardless of volatility. Check out Online Trading Academy's The Right Side of the Trade, Thursday at noon on Money Radio 1510.
Steve Jurich here. After working in financial services for over 20 years, I've finally confirmed what investors really want, including me. And it's simple. All they're asking for is 20% annual return with no risk at 100% liquidity. Here's the problem. A money market is safe and liquid, but offers almost zero yield. Mutual funds and ETFs are liquid with upside potential, but aren't safe. A carefully selected next-generation index annuity through IQ Wealth may offer 10% ample liquidity, principal protection, and a lifetime income yield potentially double to triple that of quality bonds. By yielding more income using fewer dollars, our system allocates more money for you for capital growth. It's a winning combination.
Call leading annuity authority Steve Jurich now. 480-902-3333. Guarantees rely on the claims-paying ability of the insurer, so compare with Steve. 480-902-3333. Call Steve now.
Hi, I'm Nick Grovich, host of Good as Gold, heard every Thursday at 1 p.m. on Money Radio. I have over 35 years of experience as a professional coin and bullion dealer, as well as a published author of 2 books that expose the inside workings of the rare coin market. Each week I'm going to share with you my tips on how to safely invest in precious metals and what to do if you're one of the 90% that were sold overpriced rare coins. Tune in every Thursday at 1 p.m. as I host Good as Gold, exclusively on Money Radio 1510 AM and 99.3 FM.
Kubota. Driven by perfectionists. Get some perfection in your world with compact tractors, zero-turn motors, and diesel utility vehicles from Kubota. Find your local Kubota dealer at Kubota.com.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth, and you're listening to Health Futures Taking Stock in You. We've got in the studio today, we've got Eugene Slutskiy and Luis Gonzales, and both are from St. Luke's Behavioral Health, and we're talking about behavioral health today. If you're just tuning in, you missed the first segment and the intro, and you can find it on our website at cypresshomecare.com. Just click on the button on the top, or midway down you'll see a radio button, and you'll catch the first segment. You'll catch almost 80 other segments, and you'll be caught up to speed. Mm-hmm. So, Luis and Eugene, I want our listening audience just to learn a little bit about you. And Luis, I'm going to go with you first because we'll make it really brief. Native Arizonan?
Yes, sir. One of 3.
One of 3.
Yeah.
Okay. You, Geronimo,
and my wife.
And your wife. Yeah. There you go.
Not very transient.
And where'd you do your schooling?
Here at Arizona State.
Arizona State. Okay, you're Sun Devil. What'd you think of the new unis?
Not bad.
Not
very
bad.
Aggressive. I think they have a promising athletic future here. It's looking on the up and up. I was just driving on the way to the studio past the stadium and to see all of the development and growth, and it's a pretty exciting time for Tempe.
It really is. Yeah. And then I read in the paper today, Google Fiber.
Yes, it's coming.
It's incredible. 1,000 times faster than what we're getting speed in internet.
Yeah. We are soon to be spoiled.
We are. Yeah. We are, but I don't live in Tempe, do you?
No, I do not. My in-laws are there, but just the standards that we are becoming accustomed to, and we could never go back to dial-up.
There you go. You remember that?
Those are the good old days.
Dial the number.
Yes.
And then it came together. There you go.
Yeah, and if you had the extra line, someone else would call and interrupt your internet service.
Bounced you off.
Yeah.
But you're a healthcare professional.
I am, yes, sir.
And you were in the healthcare field, but you weren't in the behavioral health side.
I cut my teeth in the medical side.
Okay.
And behavioral health is becoming much more integrated with medical and behavioral together, much like the Generations program that we spoke to on the last show. So when I was recruited, it was thought that I would be an asset so that I could speak to each side of that coin. So I'd like to think that it was a good decision by our CEO, and here I find myself fascinated every day. It's a tremendous learning experience.
And how long have you been with them?
With St. Luke's, 3 years now.
Fantastic.
I'll be celebrating my anniversary in about 4 days.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
And Eugene, you're an alumni from Arizona State University.
Yes.
And you cut your teeth here at St. Luke's. Where did you learn your craft?
Well, I've been in the mental health field since about 2007. I've been a licensed psychotherapist since about 2011, and I've been with St. Luke's about the same time that Luis has been, for about 3 years. So I've definitely, about 8 years or so in the mental health field altogether, all over the county in different capacities. So definitely have seen what some of those needs are, especially some of the needs of our older community. So.
And that's what we're here to talk about today, the older community. And I know that we just brushed over talking about generations, but if you could do me a favor, Luis, because I really want to talk today about the Momentum program.
Right.
But can you give just an executive summary of what the Generations program is all about? So at least people that may have not listened to our show December 12th of 2014 could really know about this program?
Certainly. Generations is an inpatient geriatric program, 55 and over. We offer that at Mountain Vista Medical Center and at St. Luke's Medical Center. And notice I mentioned medical center rather than behavioral health center. The reason we do that is that we have found that most of our inpatient seniors have underlying medical issues. So we're able to treat the medical issues as well as the psychiatric issues. So we want to determine, are the behavioral issues that are presenting, are they a result of underlying medical issues? So we usually treat for 14 to 19 days on average and discharge the patient into the community, whether that's back home under care, under the supervision of perhaps Cypress. But many times they cannot go back to where they came from, home or wherever else, and they go into the community, and they need those follow-up services, such as Momentum, the program that we will speak to today.
It's interesting because we've referred a number of families because, I can't tell you, we don't call our clients patients, they're clients of ours that we serve. We've referred a number of our families to St. Luke's because a lot of times, especially as part of the Generations program, because it's inpatient, we find that our clients are over-medicated.
Yes.
And, when you're dealing with all those medications and you're just trying to find that balance, there is no better resource than the Generations program at St. Luke's.
It's amazing. This is literally the most exclusive program for 500 miles of Phoenix. And we have patients often referred from out of state, particularly for family members that may be here, but mom or dad may be somewhere else in the country, and they come here for treatment.
So we're talking about inpatient. So, I really want to, ask the following, question. I mean, obviously, outpatient, inpatient, how outpatient treatment can be more cost-effective and less cumbersome. You want to talk a little bit about that?
I certainly will, and Luis can chime in too. That, I think a lot of times, and what I see quite often, is that families and patients themselves don't really know what to do when a person discharges from, our inpatient side or really any inpatient facility or hospital. So that transition piece is what becomes difficult, and finding, something that can be done on an outpatient basis, whether it's therapy or if they're looking at other things. And so outpatient is definitely much more cost effective. It's definitely, we have the capacity to treat a lot of the same issues. And we can also do some more creative things in outpatient, some different things that, inpatient can always do. Of course, there's always a need for inpatient, and if people need to go, they need to go. But outpatient is a very viable option.
Well, and I think that's a great segue to really having you share with us about the Momentum program. So tell us a little bit about the St. Luke's Momentum program.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Momentum program is an outpatient counseling psychiatric program there at St. Luke's. It We pretty much run it as what's known as partial hospitalization or intensive outpatient level of care, which is a step lower, several steps lower from what an inpatient setting would be. And the program runs Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., and we do counseling during that whole time. We do counseling for depression, anxiety. We do provide transportation as part of the program. We also
that's awesome.
Pretty much for many areas in the county. I mean, we cover a huge part of this county, and we also provide meals in the program. And you don't have to have had an inpatient stay to be a part of the program. You could just be a concerned family member or somebody that would like their family member to receive some counseling services. Now, we are a Medicare program or a Medicare Advantage, so
Thank you.
An individual would have to have that insurance. Yeah.
Could you pay privately if you needed to?
You could. I mean, I don't exactly, maybe, I don't know if Luis knows, but I don't exactly know how much money that would be, but it would still be less than paying privately for an inpatient stay.
It's interesting. I mean, the fact that, this is the thing we deal with every day is you provide transportation because we have so many aging adults that are isolated and they don't have ways to get to St. Luke's, if you would. So is this done at Mountain View and?
The Memento program is provided at Phoenix St. Luke's, the main campus on 18th Street in Van Buren, as well as the East Valley. So we are off of Arizona Avenue and Elliott.
Okay.
And there's literally a fleet of vans that will go, as far as Wickenburg or far in the Southeast Valley, Apache Junction, and such. And they just run this radius and they come closer to the sites.
Well, we don't go to Wickenburg, but we go to White Tanks, so pretty close.
Pretty darn close. Yeah. But we're talking about, you really only have a 5-hour window, 9 to 2. Right?
9 to 2. Yeah.
So, I mean, the transportation, obviously, if we're trying to get someone there by 9, you could
They'd have to be
pick
up
up at
earlier.
8 o'clock or 7:30.
That'd have to be a bit of a longer day for them. But if they're really wanting to get some treatment, it's definitely, like I said, a very good option. And as far as assessing people for this, they don't even have to come to us. Me being a licensed counselor, I'll go out and I'll see them in the community. I'll assess them at their homes. It's a pretty quick type of assessment too, and then we'll get them into our program pretty quickly. Yeah.
And that's a great lead into my next question: is what are you seeing in terms of the type of issues that you're challenged with?
Just seeing a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety to the point of needing hospitalization. We're seeing psychotic disorders, people with audiovisual hallucinations, illusions, etc. I mean, that tends to be quite common as well. Not related to memory care issues.
And it's interesting because depression is something we see a lot of. Mm-hmm. And, just aging itself has some challenges and challenges that we deal with in ourselves that we're not able to do the things that we were able to do yesterday and the day before. But loss has got to be a big piece.
Grief, even from when somebody loses somebody in a Korean War in the 50s or beyond that. I mean, we've seen that. That's an actual kind of case I'm thinking of. Loss is a huge issue, and it stays with people for many, many years. And if they haven't dealt with it, it's just going to build.
Well, we're coming up on another hard break, and it's hard to believe they fly, don't they, Luis?
They do.
They really do. I want to really talk a little bit more about how prevalent depression is in the senior community.
Absolutely.
So when we come back, that's where I want to pick up. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Health Futures Taking Stock in You. I've got both Eugene Slutskiy in, and I've got Luis Gonzales, not the baseball player, here from St. Luke's Behavioral Health. We're up against a break. We will be right back.
As we reach the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
16 months after Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 disappeared, a plane part that washed ashore on an island in the Indian Ocean is en route to France for examination. Correspondent Fred Pleiken reports.
It's an 11-hour flight from there to Paris, where the part is going to be headed initially. We expect it to arrive there sometime on Saturday here, European time. And then after that, it's going to head from Paris down here to the south of France, to the town of Toulouse, probably Saturday night or sometime Sunday morning.
But full analysis of the wing portion won't begin until midweek and could take days. Zimbabwe plans to seek extradition of the American dentist who killed a protected lion while on a guided hunt in that country. Minnesota dentist Walter Palmer paid $50,000 to hunt the lion. Beijing has been chosen to host the 2022 Winter Olympic Games. Beijing, which held the 2008 Summer Games, edged out a city in Kazakhstan for the right to host the event. I'm Ann Cates.
Growth can be an intimidating 6-letter word, especially when the guys upstairs want 7% of it. That's why you need one 8-letter word. Grainger. Grainger. The G is for growth. From industry specialists to over 1 million products across almost every category, Grainger has the resources to help us grow. Now can you guess what my favorite 4-letter word is? WORK. Let's get back to it. Get it? Got it? Good. Call clickgrainger.com or stop by. Grainger. For the ones who get it done.
Jeffy posted, "Finally got that promotion. Time to hashtag upgrade my car."
Congrats, Jeffy. You'll find the perfect upgrade at the Honda Summer Clearance Event, like the Honda Accord. It's a 2015 IIHS top safety pick and comes with rearview camera and text message reader standard.
Sweet. Great. I'll put it in my agenda. Hurry into the Honda Summer Clearance Event for 0.9% APR financing on the 2015 Accord for well-qualified buyers.
See dealer for financing details. SMS compatible with select phones with Bluetooth or wireless carriers. Rate plans apply.
You're listening to radio that talks about money and all the other things that are important, like traffic and weather. Make Money Radio one of your daily destinations.
Most of the listeners of the station have a mortgage of some type. My question is, why? My name is Joe Capitano, Senior Vice President, Homeowners Financial Group. Think of what life would be like if you didn't have a mortgage, that extra cash each month to enjoy or to invest. And I can show you how to eliminate that mortgage in a fraction of the time without changing any of your current spending habits. It's so simple, it'll just amaze you. Call me today and let me get you back on the road to financial freedom. The interest savings alone could put your kids through college or maybe fund your retirement. Call me, Joe Capitano, 480-305-8545, 480-305-8545, or just go to joeloans.com. Back number 090-6222, MLS number 9826, Equal Housing Lender. That's Joe Capitano, 480-305-8545. That's Joe Capitano, 480-305-8545, 480-305-8545, or just go to joeloans.com.
What you don't know can possibly hurt your retirement. Social Security. Do you have a plan? Do you know how and when to start taking your benefits? Join certified financial planner, host of My Smart Retirement, and Money Radio contributor Nancy Fleming as she helps you uncover ways to maximize your Social Security benefits. Increase your retirement income and attend Nancy's informative Social Security workshop Tuesday, August 4th, and the following week, Tuesday, August 11th, in the East Valley. Attend this workshop and you will discover little-known strategies that will enable you to use your benefits effectively. Nancy will discuss a wide variety of topics that relate to Social Security. Learn how Social Security benefits are calculated, how to coordinate spousal benefits, and much more. Don't miss out on substantial benefits, and be sure to attend this informative workshop 6 p.m. on Tuesday, August 4th, and the following week, Tuesday, August 11th, in the East Valley. Space is limited, so reserve your seat today. 480-632-8770. 480-632-8770.
For the latest in the world of golf, tune into Inside Golf every Monday morning at 7:18 right here on Money Radio. Inside Golf is brought to you by Bodify and Cool Sculpting, where confidence takes shape.
I'm Bruce Vail with Your Money Now. The wages and benefits that companies, governments, and nonprofit institutions pay their employees rose a record low 0.2% in the second quarter. The increase in the Labor Department's Employment Cost Index was well below the gain in the first quarter and came as a surprise to economists who had expected a much larger increase. That report helped gold reverse an early decline to close higher. Gold rose $6.50 to just under $1,095 an ounce. But for the month, gold was down 6.5%, the biggest monthly slide since June of 2013. Crude oil prices fell nearly 3%, dropping $1.40 to $47.12 a barrel. Crude prices fell 21% this month. Stocks are now lower across the board. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 56 points. The NASDAQ Composite off just a fraction. The S&P 500 is down 4. That's Your Money Now.
Honey, I'm really worried about our retirement funds.
Oh, me too. We lost so much value in the recession in the stock market. I'm worried we won't have enough to retire.
Jim next door told me that he had set up a new kind of IRA with the gold-silver group. He said how simple and safe it was. It's a private storage IRA, and we could have real gold and silver in our hands.
Really? You mean we can actually see it and touch it?
Absolutely. Jim said we could have all the benefits of an IRA to help build our retirement income. Bottom line, we would own a real tangible asset, and we would have the security of knowing we're protected no matter what the economy does. What do you think?
I think we need to find out how to get our own private storage IRA. We need to call the Gold Silver Group right now.
Are you ready to protect your future? Call 800-292-5955 now to find out how easy and safe it is to set up a private storage IRA with Gold Silver Group and find out how you can qualify for up to $700 in free silver. All transactions are privately delivered and fully insured. Please call us now. 800-292-5955. 800-292-5955.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth, and you're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. We're on our third segment, and I've got St. Luke's Behavioral Health in the house. I've got Eugene Slutskiy and Luis Gonzales, and we're on our third segment. When we last left off on the second segment, we were talking about how prevalent the rate of depression is in our senior community.
So let me speak to that. So basically, by many estimates, in terms of major depression, we're seeing about 5% or, close to that amount of folks in the senior community that have major depression. But minor depression, or what we call dysthymia, things that can develop into major depression later, it's up to 26%.
All right, so let's talk about the 5%.
Yeah.
So 5% is probably about 50,000 people.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
It is quite a bit. I mean, 26%, just real quick math, is probably about 250,000 people.
You're better at that than I am. I can multiply it that quickly.
That's okay, but I mean, it's a lot of people that are dealing with it. Yeah. And how many of those people would you say, Eugene, are actually getting seen and getting resources and getting help?
And anecdotally, and just being in the community as a mental health practitioner and seeing the trends, I can just tell you anecdotally, I don't think very many. I think that a lot of times people don't know where to turn to, or maybe they don't want to turn to it, or they have some particular feelings about being perceived negatively for doing that. So I don't think a lot of people are, to be honest with you.
All right, so here's a question I have for you. For those that are listening in to our show right now, what are some of the signs? What should family members be looking for from their aging loved ones that might be triggers that they might be having some depression issues?
That's a great question. I think a big thing is, just the isolation piece, wanting to be alone, not wanting to do things that they've always done, things that they've taken pleasure and interest in. Things like staying in bed or wanting to isolate, maybe giving things away, talking passively about death as well. Maybe not saying, sometimes folks do talk actively, I just want to die, I just want to be done with life. But sometimes it's a passive thing, like, maybe giving their things away, or saying things like, I won't make that next family reunion anyways, and things of that nature. So you just want to watch out for...
But they can say that kiddingly, right?
Yeah, but I mean, as a, mental health practitioner, if there's been a trend of saying that, and, it comes with perhaps some other factors like isolation or, loss of interest in activities, then I wouldn't take it as a joke.
Right.
Honestly.
And loss of interest of activities is a big deal.
One, yeah.
I had a concierge doc here on our show, and he was talking about how sitting is the new smoking.
Is it?
And we are we're made to move.
Right.
And as we don't move, obviously, especially you being an aging adult, I can imagine how depression can set in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think lack of activity, or perhaps when folks don't want to do the activities that they've used to do, like maybe going for walks or gardening or going to the community center. They're not interested in doing that anymore. They're just sitting around. Depression's bound to set in.
And obviously, one of the biggest triggers, as you said on the last segment, is loss.
Yes,
losing a loved one, and having I saw this with my uncle, who had buried his wife and his siblings, and buried a child.
Yeah.
Actually, a couple children.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It really is hard.
Well, and we have to understand the thing about loss and grief is that when things like this happen, even though they might have happened 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, it doesn't mean they just fade into non-existence. They stay. And we don't always consider going into therapy or counseling to help those things get better, but research shows us that counseling works for that as well. Being able to talk about it, share it, go through a certain processing of it.
Talk to me a little bit about, and this is nowhere in my notes, and I'm kind of shooting off the cuff here.
Sure.
Talk to me a little bit about the Momentum program and St. Luke's program, the philosophy versus philosophy on treating depression through therapy or medication, because I know that we are such a pill-popping society, and everyone wants that magic pill, but I would imagine, especially with behavioral health, just having the opportunity to talk to somebody can really help.
That's very important. And just besides anecdotal evidence, I mean, we have research that shows us that specifically for depression, psychotherapy can be just as or even more effective than medications. Now, in the Momentum program, we don't actually prescribe medications. We do have a psychiatrist, but he sees you more from a non-prescribing point of view. I can help somebody find a prescriber out there, but we're primarily about counseling.
There you go. That's a very important note. And the other thing is, the Momentum program isn't geared to assist those that are afflicted with dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I mean, we wish we could do that, but Medicare really makes that a fine rule that folks who have those memory-type disorders, dementia, Alzheimer's, other memory care disorders, they feel are best served by long-term residential environment or inpatient settings. They do not feel like those folks benefit from talk therapy. So unfortunately, we cannot treat them being a Medicare program.
Well, you have two really fine inpatient settings in the St. Luke system. So, those are settings as well as communities. And we mentioned, a couple before on our segments, and there are great communities that are designated to be Alzheimer's and dementia communities.
Agreed. Patients that are coming out of Generations, the inpatient program, will go to our community partners.
And that's one of the challenges you and I have talked about before, Luis, is that we don't have enough, do we?
Placement is a challenge. Many cases that we see, a typical patient may be, in our care for months because we just don't have a safe discharge environment in our speak for that patient. So either they are too frail, or there are just other challenges, or the community is just not equipped to handle, the circumstances around that patient.
And we talk about it a lot on the show. I mean, we've got this tsunami, if you would.
Yes.
And we're not ready.
Mm-hmm. It's overwhelming and will get worse before it gets better.
Yes. But it's really nice to know that we've got these resources that we're talking about today, the Generations program as well as the Momentum program. So my next question is, how can seniors, outside of being hospitalized, how can they do, or what can they do to address their mental health concerns?
Well, and I think a big, answer to that is, of course, the program like ours, but also they can still seek, just outpatient counseling through calling their insurance or, different things like that. But there are other options available to them other than just hospitalization. So if it's a really minor depression and maybe not something that you need a 5-day-a-week program for, then perhaps referring them to an individual therapist out there in the community, which there are individual counselors who take Medicare, that could be appropriate too.
And we've talked about loss, we've talked about anxiety, we've talked about some other signs. Is hygiene one of those?
Oh yeah, we call that activities of daily living. And when a person really, gets into the throes of depression, often they tend to not do those types of things. They tend to not take care of themselves. They tend to not clean after themselves. And sometimes we do see that. We do see that people haven't showered for a long time, or they haven't, clipped their nails or combed their hair or anything like that. It's because they just have a general sense of loss. And within that sense of loss, they've stopped taking care of themselves.
One of the things that we do in home care, and I think you do with the Momentum program, is you get to get into, especially you as a counselor, you get a chance to get into people's homes.
Yes.
A lot can be told about somebody and what they're dealing with by getting into their home.
Absolutely. I mean, we get into those environments and we find, that everything's, kind of thrown about, or they haven't vacuumed or mopped or anything in a while, and they just want to stay in bed. Well, to me, that's a sign right away, without further diagnosis, that, they're probably depressed.
The refrigerator is always a good sign, isn't it?
Yes, it is, exactly.
You open up that refrigerator and you see...
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Or expired, dairy products and stuff like that.
Yeah, a full refrigerator usually is a signal of happiness. I mean, it's interesting you're pointing that out, but you're right.
That's the thing we look for. I mean, and one of the challenges we have with our aging adult population is they're not eating.
They're not eating enough.
And they forget to eat, and eating, just so you know, and we've talked about it before, it's a very social event, and we need to socialize our aging adult population.
It's also a sign of loss of interest. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're up against another break here. Luis, we're having fun. We haven't heard a whole lot from you on this segment, so I expect to hear a little bit more from you on the fourth segment.
Will do.
All right, well, you're listening to Health Futures Taking Stock in You. I've got St. Luke's Behavioral Health here in the house. I've got Eugene Slutskiy, and I've got Luis Gonzales. My name is Bob Roth. We'll be right back.
Real Estate Radio Arizona is hosted by real estate expert Carol Royce. The purpose of the show is to help consumers understand what's really going on in our local Arizona real estate market. We're teaching you the why and the how-to, so you'll always be one step ahead of everyone else. Whether you need to sell your home fast and for top dollar, refinance and save money, or just looking for a great deal, Carol Royce can help. Call Carol at 480-776-5231. That's 480-776-5231. Let Carol and her team represent you in your next real estate transaction. Having someone who can answer all your questions, who truly cares about you and your family's best interest, is priceless. Call Carol today and you'll be glad you did. Remember, your home sold or Carol will buy it. Call Carol today, 480-776-5231, and start packing.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ray Lucia, and I talk about your money, your business, and your life right here on the radio. So if you happen to have any money-type questions, well, worry not. That's because I'm here to provide you with the most sound financial advice in the country. So tune in to the Ray Lucia Show every weekday, 10 to 11 a.m., right here on Money Radio 1510 a.m. and 99.3 FM.
Tune in every Wednesday at 10 a.m. for Precious Timber with Alex Wilson on Money Radio 1510 a.m. and 99.3 FM.
ProCopy is changing the way your company buys copiers and printers. ProCopy is offering a 100%, no questions asked, 12-month money-back guarantee. If for any reason during the first year you don't love your Ricoh copier from ProCopy, you simply give it back. No questions asked. Just tell us in writing and we pick it up. Of course, we plan on giving you the great service you've come to expect from ProCopy, including our famous 2.5-hour response time and free after-hour support, so you continue to love us and to remember.
If your fax is jammed or your copies look sloppy, dial 602. ProCopy.
SRP reminds you to be safe this monsoon season. When you see a down power line, stop, think, and stay. Learn more at srpnet.com/safety.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth, and you're listening to Glenn Campbell.
Good choice.
Great choice. We've got in the studios, we have got Eugene Slutskiy, and we got Luis Gonzales, and we are talking behavioral health, St. Luke's Behavioral Health System, and specifically we're talking about the Momentum Program and what that means to our community. And it's hard to believe that you shared with me it's been around 11 years?
Yeah, that we've been around, yeah.
Yeah, 11 years, and it's a great program. And, when we left off on our last segment, we were talking about how the home is really a real key to what's going on in someone's life. We talked about the refrigerator, and we talked about clutter and hoarding.
And cleanliness.
And hygiene. So those are great signs to be looking for. So I think it's a great segue to really talk about how can family members best have this conversation? We've talked about the conversation many times on my show about planning, and we're talking about planning for the inevitable, which is, talking about having advance directives and last will and testaments and stuff like that. But let's talk about the conversation when an aging adult has maybe depression or some other behavioral health challenges.
Well, and that's probably one of the most important questions that can be asked. I think that as a therapist, my guidance would be to have the conversation in a direct way and to not beat around the bush, because what we tend to do as humans for ourselves and for others is avoid. And this is not something that we can avoid. This is something that we need to kind of talk about in a calm way, but just to express concern and to express it directly and say, Mom or Dad, I'm really concerned. This has been happening. That's been happening. And I really do think that we need to take some steps and maybe even have some options already in one's head when that's being said. But the worst thing that we do is, we just sort of sweep it under the rug and we avoid it because it's convenient. And sometimes, like we were talking about earlier, making an admission that something's wrong and something needs perhaps repair or, fixing, more or less. That's a hard thing to do, but it needs to be done.
It does need to be done. And it's interesting you say that, because my question is how direct do you want to be? Because, so many of our aging adults, in a lot of our way, in the adult children's way, we see them sometimes as our children, because we're stuck in that sandwich generation. But at the same time, they resent us when we tell them, you need to do this. So we need to kind of be careful in how we approach it.
Well, so maybe not a you need to do this, unless there's a real, immediate emergency. But along the lines of, hey, Mom, I've noticed that, just talk about things you've seen. I've noticed that you really haven't been getting out of bed. You really haven't, I've noticed that you haven't been taking showers, or, I'm getting this information from several places, and, I've noticed this, and that. And I really do think that we need to have a discussion about what we do from here. How do you get help from here? Let's have that discussion. Let's at least agree to that.
And having that discussion, it's really not a one-time discussion. It's an ongoing dialogue.
No, but you first have to agree to that, because if you just come at them with, hey, you just have to do this. You have to do it now. Sometimes they can be blindsided, like what you're saying.
So our listening audience, if you're listening in and you have a loved one, a friend, a neighbor, somebody is dealing with some challenges, some behavioral health challenges, mainly around depression, anxiety, and some of the challenges that they're dealing with aging.
Right.
How do they reach you?
Well, they can call me directly. My number is 602-251-8839. Or they can call our St. Luke's Hospital general intake line of 602-251-8535. And then at that point, we would start a discussion on what's going on with the individual, and we would talk about next steps.
Can you have an intervention? Can you help them? Can you maybe go out there with a family member, the adult child, and assist them in helping them have that conversation?
Well, I certainly, if they're interested in becoming our patient, there's some ethics involved in that.
Okay.
Then I could certainly assist in that, but I'm not a certified interventionist or anything like that. So if it's just a general intervention, probably not. But if they're interested in getting some therapy and we can talk about those pieces, then perhaps I can do that. Yeah.
That conversation's a hard conversation to have.
Oh, yeah.
It's not something that anyone would really relish or enjoy.
One of the challenges that we see, and I love it when the kids are involved in their parents' care, but Phoenix is such a transient place to live that the adult children many times are not here. And we don't have that chance to get involved in the process until Mom slips and falls and is in the emergency room. And we find all of these host of issues when they have to go inpatient. Then we find the services after the fact. So I wish that all of our patients we could touch in a way that Eugene is describing. But unfortunately, because we are transient here, many of the adult children do not live here, or parents are alone. Spouses
but we
pass
try.
away. Yeah.
We try. We certainly try to get to the folks that we can certainly get to, and some of the other ones that you spoke about, with the memory care issues, can always come into our intake department and be assessed by. There are counselors that do that specifically, so they can always do that.
Well, I think you've given some great tools to our listening audience on really how they can approach this. Our producer is saying, you have a call? Okay, bring it in. Hello, you're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. Who do I have here on the line?
Yes, my name is Will.
Hi, Will. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for calling.
So, one of my questions, you guys were speaking about, adult children being involved in trying to get this stuff taken care of. What do you maybe some tips that you could have for somebody who has suspicions that there might be some depression, but they don't want to get treatment? What kind of ideas or strategies could we use to help kind of get them to understand that help is important?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So, Will, let me ask you this. Is this one of your family members, or?
Yes, it would be, my mother. Sorry.
And you have a suspicion that she might have depression, but she's not interested in talking to you about it.
No, she doesn't really even want to admit it. I don't know if maybe they want to put on a happy face, or a different generation says you're not supposed to admit that you have these kind of issues.
Well, one thing, sometimes it's about our verbiage and our language. I mean, one thing that can be done is you can just call it sadness, or, Mom, have you been sad more often than not? And I mean, a lot of times when we try to gain a clinical understanding or the picture of what's happening, we have to see, what is the person's behavior currently. I mean, if they've been, they can qualify their own happiness. If they've been more happier than not in the past, but currently they're just very sad all the time, then, we can, call it sadness. We don't have to call it depression, but that still is something that needs to be treated. And in that case, if you discovered that that's what's been happening, you say, maybe we need to get you some help for that. So.
Will, we're coming out to the end of the show, and we gave out Eugene's number before, but let me give it to you again, 602-251-8839. I appreciate your phone call. The first phone call we've taken here on Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. Eugene, Luis, I've really enjoyed having you guys.
Yes.
We're talking about very important topic matter, and we're talking about behavioral health in our aging adult community. Great show today. Really, really great show. Bravo. I appreciate you guys being on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You, and it's been great having the St. Luke's crew on. We'll be ending the show. Make it a great day. Have a great weekend.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress Home Care Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit cypresshomecare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Right after Business for Breakfast, right after the news on Money Radio, tune in Mastering Money with Wealth Manager Steve Jurich and the Dr. Sinclair No. Learn about cutting-edge retirement investment strategies, Social Security optimizing, and RMD strategies. Guests on Mastering Money have included Steve Forbes, Larry Kudlow, and the one and only John Bogle, the founder of Vanguard. Join the A-Team, Steve Sinclair, mornings Monday through Friday at 8. And now, download the Mastering Money app for your Apple, Android, and Windows devices.
Money Radio 1510
and 99.3 FM.
Is KFNN Mesa Phoenix and K257CD Phoenix. AM, FM, smartphone, computer. Always to listen to the latest money news on Money Radio no matter where you are. Right now the Dow is down 48 points. The S&P 500 is down 4, while the NASDAQ is up 2.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news. And we begin